Due to globalization, the interconnection between places is becoming more and more stronger, and culture as an influential factor changes many people's life. Culture is everything meaningful that is shared in our daily life. It can be a single aspect such as diet habits and clothing, or a combination of cultural traits like history and language. It can also be divided into big or small regions based on national boundaries. In this video, I will share my personal experiments that are relevant to different cultural regions in terms of human geography. So here's my map, and I decided to use Prezi to present it. Chinese, Canadian, and Indian culture regions are labeled on the map, and we can see there are two flight lines that show my personal connections between those places. Specific places are also labeled, and I will show them later. I would like to start with China. Chinese culture is profound with its history and language. There are 56 ethnic groups in China, and every single of them represents a unique culture. Currently, Han is the majority group, and all the rest 55 are considered minority. I have traveled to Yunnan province, where I watched the show performed by actors and actresses from over 25 ethnic groups. Some cultural traits such as costumes, instruments, and traditions were all shown during the performance, and they were all distinct. I have talked with local tour guide, and she told me that many people in her village were able to speak Mandarin, and such standard language makes it easier for people from different ethnic groups to communicate. Many foreigners consider Chinese as nationalism, and I hold opposite point of view since learning Mandarin is voluntary for ethnic groups, and there is no political limitation towards their own culture. Actually, I would say Chinese government is doing a great job on promoting cultural diversity between regions. I have lived in Shanghai for 18 years. As an international metropolis, the foreign culture is playing a big role in this city. I was influenced by a foreign language teacher in my junior school. She always put us into discussion groups, and such teaching style made a strong comparison with the traditional Chinese-style English class. Sitting on your chair and doing nothing but listen to your super boring teacher talking about grammar all days. So as a result, I started concerning if foreign education fits me more. Then I enrolled in a BC official high school in Shanghai, and I learned pretty much everything about Canada. The importance of teamwork, how to do a project, Canadian history, etc. It turns out that I made the right decision since I became progressively willing to learn foreign knowledge, and I was always working really hard. I still remember the time and efforts that I spent with my drama classmates for preparing the Remembrance Day performance in our school. This performance was for everyone in our program to remember the soldiers who have died in World War I. During the real performance, I was acting as a Canadian soldier in the War of Vimy Ridge, and I was fully touched when the Canadian flag was finally placed on the top of the Vimy Ridge. It was just one single action that I have done with my friends and BC teachers to pursue peace in terms of Canadian culture, and it did influence every single person in our school. When we finally finished the whole performance, I saw lots of audience who were watching us silently, and some of them were even crying, as I know that they did receive our messages about war. Chinese culture in Canada is also influential. The Chinatown in downtown Vancouver would be a typical example for this. I went to visit Chinatown during the geography field trip, and I was surprised to see such a beautiful Chinese garden. For the first time, I was feeling to be respected as a Chinese in a foreign country. In fact, there's a sense of familiarity which strikes me everywhere in this city. It's easy to find big Chinese characters on the shops and advertisements, and it's even easier to meet a Chinese on the street. Speaking of which, Canada as an intercultural community also promotes cultural interactions for people from different countries. FIC is an outstanding international learning community, as I made lots of friends from different countries. Shin and Asta are two of my best Indian friends, and I met them in IELTS class. Our instructor, Ms. Kate, asked us to prepare a presentation about culture in different regions, and this was the first time that I started to get in touch with Indian culture. I found several similarities between Chinese and Indian culture. For example, for cultural celebration, Chinese New Year would be the most famous festival in China, and Diwali would be the most well-known one in India. An interesting fact is that both Indian and Chinese set off fireworks, clean their houses, and transfer gifts while celebrating their own festival. Ishan also told me that Indian is the origin of Buddhism, and it was spread into China since Tang Dynasty, which was over 1,000 years ago. I have never been to India, and I will never have chance to learn about Indian culture without my Indian friends in FIC. So I will say FIC is a place that builds cultural interconnections of people from different places. It's clear that globalization is impacting everyone else in the world, and we, as a part of our own culture groups, are also influencing people around us. I could hardly tell if globalization is a good thing or a bad thing, but I know it progressively changed my life, and I'm happy to be here as an international student in FIC. Thank you.